relentless in going after and ensuring that we locate every single person.
Rescue operations running around the clock. So far, nearly 900 plucked to safety. Local, state, and federal resources working together to try and bring relief to dozens of families still waiting in fear.
Yeah, we lost everything. A lot of people lost everything.
Nobody expected this, and that's what's sad about it. A lot of people lost their lives today.
We also have crews on the ground and in the air covering every facet of this unfolding nightmare. Reports from across the disaster zone. Fox SA News at 9 starts right now. Good evening and thank you for joining our extended coverage of the Hill Country flooding disaster. I'm Ryan Wolf.
And I'm Darren. Trotter. First on Fox tonight, we're getting our first look at the devastation left behind at Camp Mystic in Hunt. Cabins along the river destroyed, trees snapped and lying on the ground. Tonight, 27 campers still missing as the death toll continues to climb at 43 currently.
And we continue our team coverage with Fox SA's Jay Avila. He's live in Kurville, with the help that's been promised to disaster areas from the federal government as rescue operations continue at this very hour. Jay.
Ryan and Darren, I'm in the downtown Kurville area, about 100 to 150 yards away from the Guadalupe River. Even here, the water came up high enough to cause significant damage. This house survived because it's up on pillars, like a lot of homes close to the water are, but you can see it still destroyed this staircase and caused a lot of damage, throwing entire logs into the house itself. I spoke to the man who was going to move in here, and he said he's just too frightened to move here now, and he's not going to do it. But we wanted to show you more of the aerial photography that we had from earlier, because much of the damage and the loss of life, of course, was in remote areas that you can't get to, isolated camps that are out there where they're still looking for survivors frantically. And so not only have they been searching by helicopter, they've also been searching by plane and, of course, boat. And on the ground, they have people walking a grid search with dogs, very painstaking, very harsh conditions, very dangerous. They said that since 6 this morning, they have covered 100 meters on either side of the river, from way up a mile north of Camp Mystic down through Hunt and Ingram. And they have rescued or evacuated 850 people approximately. And sometimes it's from in the trees. Sometimes people have been clinging to debris or on high ground. So just some really heroic searching activity. And they're trying to get crews some downtime as much as they can, but they know the search has to continue. Now, there was an earlier press briefing that was attended by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, along with Greg Abbott. And they talked about the support that they are going to be getting from the federal government. And we had some comments from them. If we have those ready, we should hear them now.
We will be relentless in going after and ensuring that we locate every single person who's been a victim of this flooding event. We're not going to stop today or tomorrow. We will stop when the job is completed. Between now and whenever that day arrives when the job is completed, this is a 24/7 operation, day and night, because we know that we are looking for Texans and Americans, and we put them as our top priority. We will find every one of them.
And this tragic situation is something that is unprecedented. We recognize that at the federal level. We also recognize that when something like this happens to a community, happens to a state, that the best responders are those locally.
Secretary Noem said that she spoke to President Trump a couple of times this morning, and that he indicated that he's going to sign a federal disaster declaration to get the most money and resources to Texas to help us with the flooding problems. The statewide declaration has been expanded to include other counties that were hit today, including Bexar County. And so there are a lot of money. There's a lot of money and resources that are coming into Texas. Among the federal resources coming, more fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters with thermal imaging capabilities to help keep the search up at night. So a lot going on. People are very tired. We're only about half a mile away from where all the workers come in to rest, and they look exhausted, but they're very determined. Ryan and Darren.
Jay, I got a quick question for you. Secretary Noem made it very clear during that presser with the governor earlier today that assets were in place well before the storm. They're going to continue to come in, and they'll be there long after this crisis unfolds. What have you seen from response in terms of the community with all of the additional help, not just state resources, but seeing the federal government there in place saying that we're here through it all? Have you heard anything from people who live there?
It's a balance when you talk to people. They're extremely grateful for everything that's being done for them, and they do see the effort, and they know that local officials are doing their best. At the same time, we hear the recurring questions. Why aren't there flood alarms, a system of warning people from Hunt down here to Kurville and other places along the river? They would like to understand that going forward. They'd like to know if there's any way to put those in place in the future, because they can just imagine how terrifying it would be in the middle of the night in the darkness to just all of a sudden have that kind of rush of water come up and hit your home or your RV, sweep you out of your campsite, and they want those questions answered. At the same time, they're grateful for the help.
Jay Avila for us. Thank you so much for that live report. A 30-foot wall of water came down that Guadalupe River, hitting these campsites. And for many of these kids in the cabins and the adults there, they just did not have a chance. Now, the National Weather Service issued a flood watch early Thursday afternoon that highlighted Kirk County as a place of high risk of flash flooding through the overnight hours. The timeline continues because this is important. A flash flood warning was issued for Kirk County as early as around 1 a.m. on Friday. A more dire flash flood emergency warning was then issued for Kirk County at 4:03 in the morning, followed by another one for Kurville at 5:34 in the morning. The problem is those campers, they were asleep the overnight hours. And as Jay just mentioned right there was no alert system along the river, nothing to help these people prepare for that wall of water coming.
And one of the things they enjoy about those camps is being disconnected from the public, so the cell phones are not allowed. I'm not sure if that's the case for the camp counselors and the chaperones, but at 4 in the morning, cell phone or not, chances are they probably did not get those alerts. Our team coverage continues tonight. We have crews spread out in the devastated area, including our Zach Hedrick. He joins us live in Kurville with the latest.
Hey, Darren, Ryan, good evening. Yeah, we're here south of Kurville a little bit in a neighborhood where it's a story that we've been following since late last night. Now, the light is kind of limited in this neighborhood, but I'm going to step aside so you can see where this black car is that you see behind me. Well, behind that is the foundation for a house. Well, that foundation, that house is now not there anymore. The house ended up traveling, if you can see, way down where that other set of police car lights are, a distance of maybe about 50 or 60 yards at least. That's where this house ended up. We do know that at least 3 people were inside that house at the time, and today we caught up with the family. This brother, Miguel Romero, was out here since early this afternoon searching through the debris, trying to find his brother, his wife, and their young son, a boy by the name of Carlos, who is barely just younger than 2 years old. As you can imagine, an emotional scene here as they sifted through the debris, just trying to find some answers.
A lot of emotions, especially when we found, stuff of the baby, the bottles, some pictures, his bed, just everything. And we even found my brother's bed, and my other brother, Gustavo, he was like, well, that's his bed. And I was getting ready for the worst to see if something was tangled up in there. When I pulled out the baby's crib, it felt like something heavy was in there, but luckily it was just water. But right there and then, you don't know.
Yeah, an emotional day for Miguel and again his family. They've been out here all throughout the day. They just left maybe about 45 minutes ago because again they ran out of daylight. They couldn't find anything, and as you can see, that pile of debris was just stacked so high up against this tree. They basically tore through the house just looking for any kind of sign of Miguel's brother, his wife, and again, their young baby boy. But again, no such luck yet. They're very grateful for the outpouring of support that they got from the community. It was actually one of their brothers-in-law that came over with that backhoe that they were going through and sifting through everything. But they're hoping that somebody at the county or even state level will see this and they can hopefully get some more help to try and find Miguel's brother. As you can imagine, guys, just an emotional night, a couple days really for this family.
Yeah, especially as daylight broke and we saw the level of destruction. There have been, plenty of people out there who have been so resilient, Zach, who say that, they know living on the river comes with these kinds of dangers, that they're going to continue to live there, that this is their home. This is something that they cherish. A lot of people just go there to visit, maybe get into a tube and enjoy the river and then go home. But for so many people, this is their life. This is their home. Have you heard from people who say that they're going to rebuild no matter what, or is this the last straw and they say they're getting out?
Well, we haven't heard anything like that just yet, but to your point, Ryan, yeah, these are people that have lived here a long time. The family who, again, had their house here on this foundation, they've lived there their entire life, and it was just completely swept away. Again, at least 50, 60 yards down the way, down river here. So don't know if Miguel's family plans to come back here. Right now they're just searching for answers, and they know that they're not the only family in this situation, but their parting message for Kurville, Ingram, Centerpoint, all of the areas affected by this flooding is to continue praying and that the answers are coming soon.
Boy, rescue operations around the clock. Let's hope they get the help that they need, and those, and along with the 27 other children still missing tonight. That is gripping reporting there. Zach, thank you very much for that.
All right, an amazing story of survival tonight. A young woman swept some 20 miles downstream, eventually clinging to a tree for hours before someone hears her cries and alerts paramedics. Tonight, we are hearing from the man who helped bring her to safety. Take a listen.
She was panicking something severe.
Carl Jeter describes the miracle he won't soon forget. Around 8 a.m. Friday, he heard the frantic cries of a young woman, then saw her naked, clinging to a tree, narrowly escaping the relentless, fast-moving floodwaters just inches below.
Hey, I see you. We're going to get you. Hang on. We're going to get you out of that tree. It's going to be all right, but you need to hang on.
Carl says he yelled back, letting her know he had seen her and that he was calling 911. He waited 20 minutes, then decided it best to drive into town and alert first responders in person.
I wasn't sure she was hearing what I was saying for sure.
Emergency crews showed up with 2 boats and in short order safely lowered the woman from the tree. Turns out she had been clinging to that tree for hours.
It was just a feeling of hope that, she's going to be all right, and she just wanted to hug me. That's all she wanted to do was give me a big hug. So we embraced for a bit, and my wife had gotten towels and blankets, and we got a trash bag and put over to try to warm her up because, she had lost a lot of body temperature at that point, and she's nicked up and banged up and what have you.
Carl says he welcomed her into his home, providing food, a warm shower, and clothes.
She's in shock at that point, obviously, and she kept just apologizing profusely. Oh, I've made a mess in your bathroom. Can you, is there a broom or something I can use to help clean up? And we're like, no, honey, don't worry about what's going on. We're just thrilled that you're here,
The woman shared she's from Midland and was in the area with 5 of her family members. They noticed the water rising and tried driving to higher ground, but the water just kept on rising, sweeping her and her father downstream. One by one, she lost sight of her parents as she was swept at least 20 miles from the Hunt-Ingram area, finally resting on the tree in Center Point.
We talked and embraced and talked about the fact that it was truly a miracle. She acknowledged that, I guess the Lord has a better plan for me.
Truly a miracle. She was bumped and bruised, and she didn't realize she had a cut to her head until she was in the shower. washing her hair, and she said it burned. But the paramedics did check her out, said she was okay. They moved on to other rescues. Crews are still searching, though, for the other 4 family members that were with her.
Heartbreaking, and the hairs on my arms were standing up during that report. That Carl, that's his name, Carl?
That's it.
That man's a hero. That man's a hero. You know, there's tales of horror, and then there's tales of heroism, and this is what we need to focus on as well, because Texans helping Texans. That man put himself in the, at risk. He had the foresight to say, you know what, 911 calls are probably getting inundated. I need to take it to the next level. That man then drove into town,
Which was dangerous.
grabbed those people to get back down there, and you saw that water rescue, and I can only imagine, what she was thinking when she embraced that man. That man is a hero.
Yeah, you saw him getting emotional just thinking and reflecting on how grateful she was that someone heard her, saw her, and did not give up, went into danger and got help for her.
Well, Carl, thank you very much from all of us here at Fox SA, that's for sure. Hey, a wall of water swallowed homes, flipped cars, and stripped trees bare. Entire families now sifting through the rubble, trying to make sense of what's left, if anything at all. Tonight, we take you high above the destruction in your South Texas Ford dealer SkyFox, where the scars of this deadly flood stretch for miles. As the sun dips over the Guadalupe River, what should be a peaceful hill country scene is instead one of devastation. In every direction, heartbreak. From above, SkyFox captures the haunting aftermath along Waterfront Drive, just across from the popular Guadalupe River Rentals RV campground. Homes are reduced to rubble, vehicles flipped and mangled, entire trees uprooted and stripped bare. A wall of water so powerful it knocked homes right off their foundations. Everywhere you look, residents stand in disbelief, frozen by the scale of destruction. Some of the most harrowing signs are visible only from the air. A red X scrawled on a building, signaling it's now unsafe to occupy. In some cases, entire structures pushed dozens of feet from where they once stood, now crumbled and condemned. Down on the ground, grim markers tell even more of the story. Piles of rock and debris, not just flood remnants, but places where bodies were recovered. Across the river at Louise Hayes Park, the remnants of a canceled 4th of July celebration remain. There are no picnic blankets or fireworks left behind, only vehicles washed into the park. Another visual punch for stunned residents still reeling from a disaster that changed everything in minutes. And that was just a few miles of the river.
Yeah.
One little story, right? Just a couple miles apart from each other, the devastation there. This stretches for miles. That just goes to show you the extent of this damage, the extent of this catastrophic flooding. And, just looking at that video and seeing what first responders are doing right now, going through all of that, and the people coming home to find absolutely nothing, it just really brings you to a place where you realize just how terrible this is for everybody out there.
Yeah. All right, we are continuing our team coverage now. We've got Emma at the live desk. Let us know what's going on there.
Well, back at the live desk, neighbors helping neighbors is what we are seeing. The City of Kurville Police Department posting on their social media saying Calvary Temple Church has been established as a reunification center. Kurville PD says this is a center for those who are looking for missing people, not from a summer camp. There is a number for people looking for their loved ones that are still missing. That number is 830-258-1111. You are asked to, when you call, to say the person's name that you're looking for and to give a physical description of your missing loved one and what they look like. Now, on that same post, they also say the Damn Smoking food truck is there at the church with food for anyone who needs it, a meal at no charge. That is the latest from the live desk.
And it's important to note that some of the sheriff's departments out there, specifically the Kurville County Sheriff's Department, they're asking people, please stay at home. They know people want to come out there and volunteer and get into the mix and do what they can, which is fantastic. But right now, it's still too dangerous. Some of the roads are still impassable. There's still so much debris out there that could get people hurt that you actually might make it more difficult for the rescue operations underway. So hang tight. We know that people out there want to help. There will be a time for that. Right now, if you want to make any donations, though, definitely the American Red Cross is a place to go.
All right, we know that weather caused all of this, so much water over a short period of time. Let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Alex Garcia for the latest.
Here's a look at what we've got going on now. We're looking at the latest radar, and again, we're watching that little pattern. Remember, we were talking about that upper low, and it kind of swinging around. Tonight, we're just barely seeing what's the leftover of that rain. We still have a flash flood watch that's in effect. That's going up till about 10 o'clock. That includes Hondo, San Antonio, up to Fair Oaks Ranch, New Braunfels, all the way back up into Austin. And keep in mind, that means that conditions are still good for the potential of more flash flooding out across the area, but that's kind of fading away as we see time. We're looking at the heaviest amount of rain back up right now throughout the last 12 hours or so from New Braunfels back over into Seguin. The good news is most of that heavier rain that we saw earlier today, that's really starting to fade out. We'll be back with more a little later.
Alex, if you can, the wall of water that has been going down the Guadalupe River and flowing downstream, is there anybody that needs to be aware that they're in the danger zone potentially? Where do we see the hardest hit areas that are going to be next?
I think what we're looking for at this particular point is just the point before Canyon Dam, when that water's still kind of flowing down into that region, creating, with all the debris, it's creating mini dams up against the bridges, and that would be the problem that we're going to be looking at. Later in the week, after we see how much water gets into Canyon Lake, we'll look at when they start to release that, and I don't think it'll be much of an issue, but downstream, then we'll see that water move down. Canyon Lake had been devastated by the droughts. I mean, for the last few years, that lake has been really, really minimum amount of water. Are you seeing a big improvement after the flooding when it all goes into the lake? Is this going to be a big turnaround for that area? I took a look back over the last month or so, and within the last month, they've been like 45 to 46%. Today, we looked at it, and it was 48%. So it's going up slightly, not a big, huge jump, but that little bit of a jump is a lot of water moving into the lake. All right, thanks. We'll see you in just a little bit, Alex. We appreciate it.
All right, and continuing our team coverage, Fox SA's Joe DiCarlo, he's been on the ground. He joins us now with a look at some of the damage and devastation.
We're here along the banks of the Guadalupe River, and behind me is Camp Mystic, where 27 remain unaccounted for after Friday morning's catastrophic flooding. The Guadalupe rose over 30 feet in the middle of the night Friday morning, and that is about the height of those roofs, as you see there on the cabins at Camp Mystic. So you can imagine the frightening scene in pitch black darkness as the water rose, and here's the devastation left behind. Now, miraculously, the survivors at Camp Mystic, they had to evacuate. They went up the hill here, and there was a sign up above here on the hill that reads Mystic. That is where they waited and watched the floodwaters rise. And this is the catastrophic damage closer to the ground. And you can see canoes, there have been boats, there's shirts mangled in the trees and the debris. And it's not just here in this part of the river, it goes all the way from here to Kurville, which is a good 20-25 miles along Texas 39 to Texas 27, and that is the route we were driving on earlier today. And you could just see the devastation throughout the entire community as you head up towards Hunt, all the way to Kurville, right along the river. Now, Texas Governor Greg Abbott as well as Kristi Noem were here earlier today at Camp Mystic. They had a first-hand account. They looked at the devastation seen here and toured the damage. Now, throughout the day, we've seen law enforcement, we've had search and rescue dogs as well, combing up and down the river, and that will continue in the days ahead until everyone is accounted for. Now, I do want to point out the community because they've been just amazing. As we've been driving here, we saw people on the side of the roads. They had signs that said free water. People have stopped to talk to the media, to talk to law enforcement and ask them, hey, do you need anything? We have tacos, we have burgers, and that just shows the generosity of this community and how strong they are, and they will no doubt come back more resilient and rebuild after this catastrophic flood. But right now, the main concern is the ones that are still missing. Search and rescue will continue as the sun goes down here. It's not going to stop. It will continue until everyone is accounted for, and we will continue to follow that process until everyone is accounted for. Reporting along the banks of the Guadalupe River and Camp Mystic, I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo, Fox SA. Again, Texans helping Texans right there. We just heard it again, 27 people missing, 27 campers from Camp Mystic. That's a Christian summer camp
That camp was completely destroyed in spots, and you saw some of the destruction there. Many people still waiting for news from their loved ones, and just really devastating to see it up close and personal like that. Joe's been out there really throughout the hill country, but this one at Camp Mystic really hits deep because of the fact that there's still 27 campers, those families still waiting tonight for some sort of word as rescue operations continue around the clock. All right, let's check out some video tonight sent in by Brandon Fender, one of our viewers here, of the flooding that was in Seguin after receiving more than 5 inches of rain an hour. We remember from the press conference with the governor and with the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, the governor talked about a disaster declaration request not just for the Hill Country, Kirk County, but also for other surrounding counties. We're talking about Bexar County, we're talking about Burnett County, Travis County, but you also have places like this, Seguin, where an incredible amount of water fell in a little bit of time, and sadly for some people, a lot of destruction inside their home too.
And earlier this morning, this is video of rain out of Seguin, this afternoon rather. And it was a lot, so much so that the county leaders there, they were telling people to stay off the road, stay inside. Events were being canceled. We saw earlier on their Facebook page one of the events that would have happened tonight between 5 and 10, that canceled, along with several others, as they urge people to stay indoors with this amount of rain. Given all that we have been reporting, they didn't want to take any chances. And early this morning, we spoke with the Assistant Fire Chief of Hunt for more of what they've been dealing with. Fox SA's Taylor Whartonby has the latest now.
An unimaginable scene unfolding in the Texas Hill Country. Although the floodwaters have receded, the aftermath has left the community devastated. From downed power lines, uprooted trees, swept away vehicles and buildings torn apart, this is the aftermath of the catastrophic flooding.
It's unbelievable. Like I say, I've been here since 1987 and I've seen 2 or 3 really good floods, but I have never seen one that just total disaster like this one is. They said this thing crested at 36 feet.
A staple in the heart of Hunt, the Hunt store was much more than a place where people would eat and enjoy music. Now unrecognizable. And what was once the post office is now gone, left with nothing but scattered bricks.
It's just destroyed. Back here in the back, 3 months ago, my new wife and I were dancing on that dance floor to one of our favorite bands. The post office is gone. The devastation is unbelievable.
Here in Hunt, there are 6 large summer camps. Camp Mystic, a Christian summer camp, being the largest, which is completely destroyed. 27 people are still missing.
We basically evacuated 2 of the camps yesterday, Camp La Junta and Camp Mystic. Camp Waldemar and Stewart are getting kids out today, taking those kids to some churches in the Kurville area to take care of them and get them back to their parents.
Kirk Griffin, Hunt Volunteer Assistant Fire Chief, says to get to the campsite, there is 1 road in and 1 road out.
We did lose a lot of the road base in areas where the river does come up over the river, the roads. It basically just peeled the asphalt off the roadbed. And so we've got gravel roads with big holes. Fortunately, TxDOT did get in last night and got them at least passable. And we continue to do that as both out the North Fork of the river and the South Fork.
This has been an active scene here in Hunt, where first responders have been working around the clock. I'm Taylor Whartonby reporting.
You hear from people there in her report right there who say that we lived here our whole lives, and you know that the potential for flooding is there, but to actually see this level of destruction, they said they've never lived through something like that.
Yeah. Taylor was telling us earlier that there was a family that lived on the 2nd floor of the Hunt store, and they had to crawl to the roof to get to safety.
That's how high that water went.
That speaks to how high that water was. You said some 30 feet, and she was just about 100 feet away from the river, so it had to crest the river, go up and go really high to threaten that family on the 2nd floor.
30 feet, that's 3 stories. I mean, just think of that as a wall of water coming down, and with that water, all the debris that comes with it, the debris we're talking about, rebar, wood, trees that were uprooted. It was just a living nightmare.
Yeah. We will continue our Hill Country flooding disaster when we come back right after this.
Well, back at the live desk, the Odessa Police Department posting on social media saying one of their officers is one of the several people missing after this deadly flooding. The police department says Martin and some of his family took a trip to the Guadalupe River near Kurville for the 4th of July. The department has been in contact with local and state authorities and have offered their assistance, but that assistance has been declined as officials believe they already have enough resources helping near the Guadalupe River. We've been telling you about those resources all day. The police department asking for prayers as they continue to wait for an update on one of their own tonight. That is the latest from the live desk.
And keep in mind, some of these people went to higher ground, leaving behind if they had any cell phones. In most of the area, the Wi-Fi signal is horrible. Cell phone signals are horrible. Power is still out. So don't lose faith. There still could be people out there. They're unaccounted for right now. This is a rescue operation. It has not been called a recovery operation just yet. So places like Odessa, this far-reaching flood, hitting places like that and keeping the faith tonight.
That's true. All right, people around Kurville picking up the pieces tonight. A lot of those RV parks are right near the river, and Fox SA's Destiny Fuller talked to a man there who says he is lucky to have made it out.
When I woke up, the water was already 2 feet into my RV, and I grabbed my dog and my wallet and I tried to get outside, and the water was flooded. The truck had me pinned, so I got out, and then I just hear screaming, family screaming and kids, and I couldn't help. I just couldn't help.
How were you able to get out?
I worked my way towards the wall, and the trailer was coming, and then somebody grabbed my arm and pulled me out of the water last night. And then I tried to go help, but by then it was too late. Everybody was down the river. So.
And I know you lost your
Everything.
trailer, your truck.
Yeah, Walmart, thank you. They gave me some shoes this morning. Yeah, we lost everything. A lot of people lost everything.
Has this ever happened in this area before?
We had a flood like last year maybe, but it wasn't nothing to this extreme. So this is devastating.
So what's going to be next for you? Trying to figure
trying
out.
to find a place to live, trying to get clothes. I don't know. Trying to get my life built back together, I guess. Nobody expected this. That's what's sad about it. A lot of people lost their lives today.
And have you heard of anybody that you know or anybody that you might have shared?
There was a
with?
buddy here that passed away, I guess, a guy that worked here. I'm not sure of the info, but we do have casualties, so it's a sad day in Kurville. Sad day.
Thank you for talking to us.
And you can hear the bravery, the uncertainty, and just the fear, you know, as he's telling his story. You can see him reliving it and realizing, and you heard him keep not making it about himself, reminding us that there are other people suffering through the same, and people who have suffered much worse with the losses.
Yeah. He used the word casualties in that neighborhood, so our thoughts and prayers to everybody there. At least 5 people are dead in the Austin area after at least 20 inches of floodwater wreaked havoc. In Williamson County, crews are working around the clock as floodwaters continue to impact the area. Abigail Velez reports.
The San Gabriel River in Williamson County has been angry all day, with river levels rising throughout the day. The North Austin Avenue Bridge in Georgetown, which was under construction, has since been closed off by authorities as that floodwater rages through the area and takes down some of that construction that was underway. Here's what we know so far. 2 people are missing tonight from Williamson County, one from a home near Hope House in Liberty Hill, where 16 people had to be evacuated. Liberty Hill Fire and Leander Water Rescue teams are on the ground, with 1 active rescue still underway. Officials say at least 10 water rescue recoveries were made within the last 24 hours from mobile homes and cars.
Overnight, they successfully rescued and evacuated 25 citizens of Williamson County.
There are 26 active road closures across the county, with the river above flood stage as of now. Bridges could be unstable, and officials are warning drivers, do not go around barricades. All county agencies are activated, with state agencies and Fort Hood Air Support on standby. Georgetown apartments and several RV parks had to be evacuated. Evacuation orders remain in place as river levels have not yet come down.
Sorry.
It's scary for me.
Yeah.
Whenever I look at it, I'm like, if I was in that, like, you're not getting out of that. You're gone. There's no telling how far you're gonna go.
It's far-reaching. I mean, it goes to show you this isn't just a Kurville thing. This is all of central and portions of South Texas dealing with this just devastating flooding and the aftermath that now people are coming home to and realizing that this may take a long time to rebuild.
Alex is standing by. We talked earlier about the topography of that area with it not being the best absorption because a lot of it is on rock.
Yes, it is what we call karst limestone. So that's pretty much like concrete. Water comes down and it's really not going to soak in that much. And of course it flows much quicker as you get through there. Here's a big pattern that we've been watching. You can see that upper flow coming all the way back around and then swinging around back this way with the low sitting right back in there. That's kind of what it looked like a little earlier, and it's still kind of left over from today. We do have the flash flood watch that's in effect all till about 10 o'clock. That's probably another couple of minutes or so, but eventually it looks like they're going to allow that to expire at this point. I don't see them extending it, but we'll see what happens. And again, when we've got a watch, that means conditions are good for the potential of flash flooding to occur. Now, during the day today, we were watching all the rain that was really starting to build. We saw a couple of really good hot spots. The one that was earlier this morning was out there near Seguin. 9.7 inches estimated rainfall. And then we get back up here toward New Braunfels, another little spot where we saw some bigger rainfall totals coming up to near 7 inches of rain. So two big spots today that saw the rain. Now, here's the radar right now. Tonight, you can see we started with some activity here, kind of slid on down all the way back up here into northwest Bexar County and kind of fizzled out. So that means we just have some light rain kind of left over, stretching all the way out here from Schertz, back on down just to downtown area, back over toward Castroville. Most of that kind of moving out. Now, when we take a look at the rainfall rate over the last few hours, you'll see it, just some light rain coming through, back up to Helotes, back over to near Redbird Ranch and back out to SeaWorld, and that's pretty much it. When we look at how much rain we actually received today, this is what we got at the airport, 0.96, normal's 5.8, so that means we're a little bit above the normal, at least for this year. Here's the aquifer level. Today, it sits at 883. How much of a change did we get? 5 feet, 5.4 feet, and that's not bad. It doesn't look like a lot, but that's not bad because when you consider the lake is big and you stretch it out, you get a good deal of water through there. Wanted to show you really quick that flood drought pattern. We go up and down over the years, and we just happen to be in one of those flood type years. When we have a very weak La Nina out there, it's more of a neutral phase, and that's likely why we still have the opportunity for rain. Now, coming up tomorrow, this is what we're looking at. Ramping up till about 10 o'clock, around noon, we could see some more of these scattered showers to widely scattered showers across the region. We're not looking for any real heavy rain at this point. It really backs off in the afternoon, so by 10 p.m. it's pretty low. Monday stays pretty low as well. Isolated showers at best. That's rain dial 1, and that means not everybody's going to see rain, and it's unlikely that you'll see it. So here, we'll break down the day coming up for you tomorrow, and if you're in surrounding cities, watch up here. All right, we're thinking maybe a little bit of rain to start early in the morning and in the region. 78, 77 degrees to start today. We'll see some scattered showers by noon. Sun comes up. We're looking maybe 84 degrees. We could get as high as 90 before we get some of the rain in here to cool us off and bring us back down into the 80s. But overall, it should be a really steamy day with the opportunities for rain. Over the next 10 days, our normal in the morning is 74, and you'll see the trend starting to go up. So we're up around 75, 76, cools off, and then it really starts to ramp up again as we get into the middle part of the month. And that means we're going to be watching the temperature shift as well. We'll start a little bit below the normal coming up on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, but look what happens as we get into the middle part of the month. We start ramping back up, and that's more of that summer pattern with plenty of sunshine, so that means upper 90s to near 100 later in the month.
Well, Alex, you talked about the aquifer going up some 5.5 feet, which is great news. What does this mean then in terms of the drought restrictions that we're in? I believe we're still stage 3. I know they usually take a 10-day running average before they make a change, but
yeah.
Do you see a change on the horizon with all this rain?
We're just going to have to wait for that 10-day thing. And, you know, if it really doesn't fall within that 10-day range, it will stay pretty much the same.
All right, there you have it. Alex, we'll check in with you in just a bit, but the good news is the rain is tamping down. Let's go back high in the air. We want to take you to our SkyFox, our South Texas Ford dealer SkyFox chopper, showing some of the images, the haunting images across the popular Guadalupe River. we saw just mangled mess, cars flipped over, trees uprooted, houses that just look like matchbox sticks. I mean, it was just incredible to see the damage out there, especially as we looked at most of it around Front Drive, Waterfront Drive, Water Road. This was an area across from a popular River Rentals RV campground. Then we also flew over Louise Hayes Park and saw the remnants of that canceled 4th of July celebration. Remember, this was supposed to be a holiday. People were heading out to the Guadalupe River to celebrate our nation's independence, to spend some time along the river, do some fishing, do some tubing, spend time with family and holiday during the holiday, and this is what happened. I mean, it's just unfathomable to think about it. And then we also got our first aerials, of course, over Camp Mystic, where we saw just some of the haunting images inside the campgrounds, where you see the water completely to the ceiling, the destruction inside with the bunk beds and the clothing strewn around and the mud inside there. And you hear about the 27 campers still missing, and it hurts your heart.
Yeah, and you said a lot of families plan for these camps. These are legacy camps. Family members and generations of family members have gone to for decades. And so we talked to a boy earlier. He was at one of the camps along the Guadalupe River. This is what he was thinking as he saw those floodwaters rising.
We didn't really know what was going on around us because it was dark. We couldn't see past these. All we really knew is that we needed to move stuff in order for it not to get wet. And there was just a lot of water creeping in from areas we didn't think it could. And it was really scary.
We picked them up last night. All those boys were pretty traumatized. I was impressed with the older boys and how they had handled everything, and the counselors and the leaders, but everybody looked pretty traumatized. They had been up since 1 with only a little bit of food that had been brought in by a helicopter. So it was a pretty long, rough day for them yesterday.
And you got to think, you know, the emotional toll that all of this could have on those young people, probably not setting in just yet. It's probably surreal. What could prepare them for something like this? As you said, this was something that they look forward to during the school year. They're ready to have fun for the summer, and now to be hearing how this turned out, it's got to take a toll on them in some way.
This was supposed to be a core memory. You know, this was, you know, kids 8 to 17 enjoying time with their peers, and supposed to have a time out in the wilderness next to an idyllic river, and spending time with their friends, disconnected, right, from technology. So much of that wrapped up in the school time, and now they're away from that. And in the middle of the night, a wall of water comes and just ruins everything. It's just, it's unbelievable. Earlier, Fox SA's Taylor Whartonby spoke to the Assistant Fire Chief of Hunt for more on what they're seeing there. Let's take a listen.
So I do have Kurt. He's the Assistant Fire Chief. Been here for 27 years. Tell me about this.
This is, you know, monumental. I feel very much like we're looking at the video from last summer in the hurricanes in Carolinas. Community is pretty hard hit. Everybody's good. Lost a lot of stuff. Lost some lives. The Hunt Department we're trying to make sure our community's okay. The state's kind of left us out and let us take care of everybody around here. And of course, the state is coordinating all the recovery efforts.
Now, what are we seeing here? Are we seeing some bobcats out here kind of pulling the debris?
We have a whole lot of folks that have volunteered equipment. We've cleared out the North Fork of the river with volunteer equipment. We're working our way up here. Been working with KPUB and TxDOT on just what to do with the debris, how to get it out of the way, how to get the roads back open so that 2 lanes are passable. That's really what our biggest effort is right now. We've got the 2 local churches set up for food and food donations and that kind of stuff. We're letting them take care of that, and we're just trying to make the best of what we got.
And a lot of you have been asking how you can help. Cross Kingdom Church on Junction Highway in Kurville is accepting donations of clothing, non-perishable food, and toiletries. Also, the Salvation Army in Kurville, they're accepting non-perishables, hygiene items, trash bags, diapers, socks, you name it. They're asking people when the time is right. Right now, they've asked folks not to get out. That would jeopardize the search efforts, but They are accepting those non-perishable and other hygiene donations at 855 Hap Street in Kurville.
And there are other ways to help too. Emergency responders in Kurville have what they need for the rescue efforts, but they're asking people to give cash donations. A fund's been established at the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country. There's information on the City of Kurville Facebook page, and for other items, the Kurville Salvation Army Center and Cross Kingdom Church in Kurville. They're accepting cleaning supplies, trash bags, clothing, baby needs, and toiletries. So there are lots of ways that you can take action without getting out, putting yourself at risk, or those who are doing the rescuing. So stay tuned and stay with us. Our coverage continues of this historic, catastrophic flooding in the Hill Country right after this. Well, an urgent search is underway for more than 24 girls from a summer camp in the Texas Hill Country. Destructive, fast-moving floodwaters, which took many by surprise, left many unaccounted for.
Killing at least 32 people, 14 of those dead are children. Fox News senior correspondent Mike Tobin has more from Kurville, Texas.
The search continues for more than 24 children who went missing from a summer camp following fierce flooding in the central Texas region.
We know that we are looking for Texans and Americans, and we put them as our top priority. We will find every one of them.
Floods tore through the Guadalupe River as several months' worth of heavy rain fell within hours. Fast-moving waters in the river rose 26 feet in just 45 minutes in the middle of the night on Friday.
Unprecedented, historic. It's like a wheelbarrow of water got dumped here. It's devastating, but we'll recover.
The powerful storm killing at least 24. Search teams using boats, helicopters, and drones are looking for those who are still unaccounted for on Saturday. Friends and families of the missing are posting pictures of their loved ones on social media, making a frantic plea for any information.
We will be working around the clock 24/7 until every person is found.
In addition to the search and rescue, that's the priority right now.
The flooding took locals by surprise in Texas Hill Country, a summer hotspot for camping. Now a path of devastation is left in the area. President Donald Trump calling the floods, quote, terrible. He says his administration is working with officials on the ground.
Oh, yeah, we'll take care of it. We're working with the governor. It's a terrible thing.
A flood watch remains in effect for parts of central Texas until later Saturday night. In Kurville, Texas, Mike Tobin, Fox News.
All right, thanks for that report.
Governor Abbott saying that the efforts will not stop. He's calling it a 24-hour effort where he is going to find every victim, dedicating lots of resources, including those thermal images on helicopters that would be helpful tonight now that the sun has gone down.
Yeah, he spoke at a press conference. Let's listen in.
We will be relentless in going after and ensuring that we locate every single person who's been a victim of this flooding event. We're not going to stop today or tomorrow. We will stop when the job is completed. Between now and whenever that day arrives when the job is completed, this is a 24/7 operation, day and night, because we know that we are looking for Texans and Americans, and we put them as our top priority. We will find every one of them.
All right, that was Governor Greg Abbott speaking there. He was with Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, where he signed a disaster declaration request, and we're told that the president will accept it and that financial aid and resources will be here not just now, but also in the future as well. Governor also just put on X 1 minute ago, I want to share with you, today I visited Camp Mystic. It and the river running beside it were horrendously ravaged in ways unlike I've seen in any natural disaster. The height the rushing water reached to the top of the cabins was shocking. He says, we won't stop until we find every girl who was in those cabins. Again, that from the governor on X just 1 minute ago as we continue to monitor this developing situation.
All right, Chief Meteorologist Alex Garcia standing by with the final check of weather of what we can expect tonight leading into tomorrow.
Well, things tonight have calmed down quite a bit. We don't see much in the way of rain showing up at all. We do have this flash flood watch that's in effect. It will stay in effect until about 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. So that's the only thing that's really extended. We had a good deal of rain earlier today out towards Seguin. Most of that has receded now. We're keeping an eye on the rivers, particularly the Guadalupe as it gets into Canyon Lake. We'll see how much that really affects the lake at this point, and then where we're going to be looking at downstream.
All right, Alex, thank you for that. Let's all pray for the 27 campers still missing tonight. Again, the death toll so far, 43, as we continue to cover just this catastrophic flooding in the Hill Country. Count on Fox SA to continue our coverage not only on air, but also online as well. Be sure to follow us on our social media pages. For Darren, Ryan, and the rest of the crew, have a great night.